Let's look at example number 5 from the notes. So given the second degree Taylor polynomial, that is a plus bx plus cx squared, for the function f about x equals 0, so meaning we're looking at this polynomial centered around x equals 0, I want to be able to figure out what the signs of a, b, and c are if the graph is this shape that we have here at the right. And I want to think about what it means. Okay, so remember, when we have a polynomial that looks like this, our polynomial in P2 in general form would be f of 0 plus f prime of 0x plus f double prime of 0 divided by 2x squared. So what we can see here is that my coefficients, I would have f of 0, use the wrong pen, f of 0 would need to equal a. So if we said f of 0 equals a, what would be the sign of a? Well, what we're looking at in this case would be my y-intercept. So I'd be looking at this point right here. And based on the fact that this is my y-intercept, I know that a needs to be less than 0. When we look at this coefficient, f prime of 0 would be b. So f prime of 0 has to equal b. And we know that f prime of 0 equaling b represents my slope. And if we look at the slope at this point, if we look at the slope, let's draw a good slope. If we look at the slope of this point, we can see that this slope is also negative, and therefore b would be less than 0. And then if we look at my third coefficient would need to be c. And so what I know is that f double prime of 0 over 2 would need to equal c, which means f double prime of 0 equals 2c. Well, we're talking about the concavity when we look at this second derivative. And we know this graph is concave up, and therefore c would have to be greater than 0. So these are my signs of a, b, and c.